Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Deportes Nation. I'm Alex Parra, and as you can see on screen, live from Shell Energy Stadium, we welcome in Victor Araiza. First of all, Victor, good evening, almost good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I was about to say good morning now that you kind of condition it that way. Hello from Shell Energy Stadium, obviously the home of soccer here in Houston for the professional teams. The Houston Dynamo tonight picking up an important 2-0 victory over the Columbus Crew and what is heating up to be the MLS playoff race.
Victor, this Ben Olsen team has been on a roll as of late. A team that for many years now, under Paulo Nagamura and others, has not even thought about playoffs. That's a reality. But let's start with today. Set the plate for us a little bit. Wednesday night, how was the crowd? Let's talk about that before we get into the result.
Yeah, I mean, that side's still a struggle, right? I mean, obviously, you've been to some of these games, especially the fans that have been out here throughout the entire, our audience who have been out here throughout the entire year. They know that pocos pero locos, right? The few that show up, it's a party in here, but, that's still obviously a struggle to connect with the community, to get a full house here. It hasn't happened this entire year, but on the field, that product is delivering results. As you mentioned, obviously a big week last week with wins against Portland. That was matching a record, club record for the most goals in match. The Open Cup semifinal with Salt Lake, that obviously gives them the ticket to go to Miami for the Open Cup final against Lionel Messi and company. And then obviously following up on that with Salt Lake again in the playoff race in Sandy, Utah. Moving back here tonight, 2 games in a week. This is the first one. They got Columbus, one of the more, you could say, contenders in the league. And a good result, I think, in comparison, especially to the other two opponents.
Absolutely. And when do we talk about that first goal more than anything? Corey Baird has been on fire as of late.
Yes. 6 goals now in MLS. I believe it's double digits across all competitions. If we count a couple of U.S. Open Cup, Leagues Cup, arguably his best season in Major League Soccer. I think a big part of that has been he's gotten the most minutes in 5 years in the league, right? There's been a big belief from the coaching staff. They've always been stubborn at times to play him, but now it's paying off, and they can show those results, especially. Obviously, in this one, a second opportunity, rebound off the keeper, but they all count the same. And we'll see how this ends up turning out. Post game, Ben Olsen said it's sort of scoring by committee. They don't have exactly one guy that's going to give them 15 goals a season. So again, especially if this team gets to the playoffs, we'll see if the scoring by committee continues to be a success.
And that's definitely a part of it. We're live with Victor Araiza at Shell Energy Stadium, kind of recapping the match. The Houston Dynamo defeating 2-0 the Columbus Crew, and we've seen a little bit of this. It's a deep team. Ben Olsen spoke about that this evening in the post-game press conference, Victor.
Yeah, they're finding good contributions from other players, right? And I think more importantly, at least specific to tonight, got to give credit to the coaching staff. They got the substitutions right. That's maybe something that I know it's been a debate for fans, for us media members throughout the year. But I think tonight, bringing off guys like Amin Bassi and Nelson Quiñones to bring in Brad Smith and Luis Caicedo, I think those are the kind of moves that help this team finish out the results. Maybe a bit of a debate or talking point has been how much can this team depend on Hector Herrera? Obviously the summer was a question. We've seen him get some rest, especially with these latest results. Tonight, they didn't have to shove him off. They were able to get 2 of their better players, obviously 3, if we count that midfield, right? Artur, Coco Carrasquilla, Hector Herrera. So again, an all-around win. Columbus did manage some of their rosters as well. We got to take that into account, midweek MLS game. So, again, maybe something's still to be seen, but at least results-wise, they're better off than, like you said, where they were years prior.
And Coach Ben Olsen spoke about that whether or not he was worried of losing the chemistry because of the break that's coming up, he's actually looking forward to it. There's been a lot of games, Victor.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think this is one of the things, especially in years past, what has been the Achilles heel of the Houston Dynamo. It's been the summer stretch, right? When it's been game after game after game, 2 in a week, and you have multiple weeks like that. If we look at this recent stretch, one of the keys, I think, is, what else? That 2-week break after they got eliminated from the Leagues Cup, they were able to regroup a little bit, come back fresh against Portland, get that big win, right? Again, another home game against RSL, and then maybe they already had them down for the count with that semifinal that they went over to Sandy, Utah, and finished the job league-wise. Now against Columbus here midweek, we'll see what they go do with the Galaxy, but whatever happens, obviously, it is going to be a welcome break. We got to remember, too, here, Hector Herrera returns to the Mexican national team. Knock on wood, right? No injuries, anything of that nature. But, again, we'll see what kind of workload he gets, because that's going to be important for the ending stretch, too.
Victor Araiza live at Shell Energy Stadium, 2-0, the Houston Dynamo defeating Columbus Crew this evening. And after, Coach Ben Olsen had several comments, including, and why don't we listen, Victor, to Coach talking about the depth of his team and the way he finds and feels his team is playing at the moment. Here's Coach Ben Olsen after the match.
One of the best things to as a coach, when you're guys that haven't gotten as many minutes as they want, get their chance, and they do well and make your life a little harder on how to pick the next lineup. It creates some buy-in from those guys that they're helping out in this, because if you're winning all the time and you're not playing, it's great, but it's not the same as if you're contributing in some way, whether you're coming off the bench or you're starting and helping with those points. And it's so it really does build confidence. It obviously builds depth, and now allows me to maybe rely on somebody that I wouldn't usually rely on, or so it's great. We're deep right now, and teenage is coming back too soon, so that'll help us in the next week or two. He's chugging along, and hopefully he can join the squad too soon.
And what he tells us there, Victor, is not only that his team is deep, and we've seen that, relying on different people scoring from different places, and which is a luxury for many teams, but he also gave us an update about a teenage Hadebe who's on his way back, and theoretically that can only help the chemistry and the depth that this team currently has.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and especially that's the hope, right? He's one of the designated players. You would think it would be an upgrade when he comes back, but it is one of the things now to manage going forward. I do have to say, it's not just depth, right? It is improvements, and that's some of the things. When we talk about Corey Baird, it's not that he wasn't getting chances before, right? Earlier this season or in prior seasons, it's that he wasn't, as definitive with those chances. Now he's making them count. Obviously, we've said, a big part maybe has been a huge plus in playing time in his regard. Griffin Dorsey's one that's also provided a lot of improvement. He was out, maybe not getting as much playing time as he would have liked earlier in the year. But he's been maybe one of the biggest surprises of the year, we can say, most improved player. What he brings right on that right wing, the direct plays, a lot of the stuff in the first half was him, right? His speed, penetrating defenses. And it's forced rather than maybe, and I know Brad Smith sort of coming back from an injury, but rather than maybe bringing a veteran like Brad Smith as a left back, instead it's bringing on Griffin Dorsey and moving Franco Escobar to the other side. But, again, overall, it's not just the depth. It's the result of some of these players. I think also Aliou Ibrahim, right, playing out a little bit wider instead maybe centrally. I think these are all things when we analyze some of these games, therein lies the answer why this team is also providing better results.
And part of that, Victor, is also the environment. Even though it was not a full house, the fans that were there, they were supporting, and it's giving everyone an energy that, to be honest with you, not to use a cliche because they play at Shell Energy, that didn't exist in the past. Ben Olsen, though, I could tell he's still very calculated and not thinking too far ahead. He said he doesn't look, Victor, he doesn't pay attention to the standings. Do you really believe that?
I don't, but it's coach speak, right? I mean, what else is he going to say?
Sure.
maybe there is some truth in the sense of you don't want to get carried away, right?
Sure.
If you look at the standings and you maybe see you're in eighth, I can see there where maybe he tries to manage his team and say, look, if we do what we got to do, what we have to do, just get our results. Don't worry about anybody else. I think from that regard, yeah, he has a point. But I think, obviously there's still some games going on as we speak. But I think, when this night ended, or at least when this game ended, they were in third place. Obviously, I think Seattle has now overtaken them. They've moved. But, I mean, they have to be breathing a little bit easier, being a little bit higher up in the table. Obviously, again, a lot of games coming fast. A bad week can change all of this. But I do think, I mean, come on, this has to be a little bit of confidence for the team, especially like you said, bringing back some players like Kadebe. We'll see how it all gets managed. But at least, like you said, the team's in a good position. At this point last year, Paulo Nakamura was about to get fired, right? Labor Day weekend, or I think on Labor Day is when it happened. So they're in, I mean, if you compare the 2 years, just between, this one and last one, obviously a more positive season here at Shell Energy Stadium.
Before we get too far ahead, the next match for Ben Olsen's team will be against the team from Los Angeles. And he said, look, regardless of the record, they're a very dangerous team, LAFC is.
LA Galaxy.
Sorry,
right?
LA
Obviously
Galaxy. Forgive me, thank you.
But, Dynamo fans will throw it in for that. They've also beaten LAFC already this season. Again, just from all these results, it is positive for the fans that have hung out, the diehards, right, for a lot of years, the ones that have made it out to the stadium. Now against the Galaxy, a place where they've gotten results even last year. I'm sure they'll be confident. I'm sure it'll help, especially if they can, maybe finish them off in the playoff race. Maybe a 6-point game, as we call these. But ultimately, I mean, this team, again, wants to arrive at that break, come back stronger, because coming back from the international break, you got St. Louis. They may be an expansion team, but they're number one in the West, and they're a team that certainly knows how to play the game well. They know what their playing style is, and they're certainly a team that can get a result here.
Well, another team is Deportes Nation that will keep you informed. Now, hopefully, we'll start peaking as the season goes along. Victor, like always, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Excellent reporting from Shell Energy Stadium this evening. Have a great night, and we'll be talking a little bit more. And for all of you, ladies and gentlemen, that follow us, we'll be giving you updates on the MLS team in Houston, the Houston Dynamo, and beyond, the league, teams in Texas, etc. So on behalf of our production team, on behalf of Victor Araiza, who's live at Shell Energy Stadium, I'm Alex Parra. Please take care until next time when we meet here on Deportes Nation.